Saturday Night Live legend Dan Aykroyd writes, directs, and stars in not one but two roles in a film that would reunite him with fellow Saturday Night Live legend Chevy Chase, as well as an SCTV legend John Candy. Added to all that, huge superstar Demi Moore, who came just right after the huge box office success of Ghost. So what they have here, clearly, is a recipe for a classic comedy. But what they got is nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. This is today's review. This is an on-demand review. This request comes from Video Game Culture. Thank you very much for your recommendation. Really appreciate any kind of reason to see this movie again. My kind of personal experience with the movie goes back quite a bit, like maybe even like 5 or 6 years old. I saw this movie on cable. As I grew up, I just had these vague memories of the movies. You know, what stayed in my mind were like those, deformed babies, those big fat baby creatures. One of them is played by Dan Aykroyd. And the whole junkyard full of the skulls and the whole weird roller coaster thing. And for years, and this is really before you could ask like Siri anything or like even do a Google search. But even in that era, I was always just trying to find out what this movie was. Like, completely in vain, just typing in these very vague recollections of the movie, like movie where there are big fat babies and bones. Like the stuff I found was not the movie. But I want to say 5 years ago, in a pawn shop where they had old DVDs, things like that, found this, kind of examined it a little bit. I thought, could this be it? Could this be it? And yes, indeed it was. And I got to relive this classic, and I've watched it a couple of times since then. It's a bizarre movie, and that's maybe where the problem is in just generally trying to describe it to anyone. Like, even just having seen it, even having seen the movie multiple times, how do you describe this movie to anyone? Okay, Chevy Chase, he plays this kind of stockbroker. He's kind of a douchebag, living large, fast-paced life, things like that. Lives in a loft apartment in New York City. Smokes fancy cigars, has a fast car, and he meets and becomes infatuated with the Demi Moore character, who has an ex-husband or ex-boyfriend or somebody who she's, been jilted by. She needs to go to a meeting. He offers to drive her to a meeting. Two Brazilian millionaires, which he pegs as Brazilianaires, come along for the ride. And they, through whatever mistakes they make, whatever detours they make, in their, by the way, really fancy 1990s GPS system that the car has, they wind up in kind of a rural area that's been, forgotten by time. Vulcanvania. And they're brought to the Justice of the Peace. An officer, played by John Candy, brings them there to kind of face the charges of speeding, evading the arresting officer as well. And Dan Aykroyd in this hideous makeup, he's the Justice of the Peace. He's old man makeup, long fingernails, scraggly hair, hideous teeth, and a nose that looks like a penis. He's kind of putting them through hell. He's keeping them there for their trial. They find out that they've done this kind of stuff before, kept people, bankers specifically. He hates bankers. You find out that several bankers have gone missing. He's kept their IDs and newspaper clippings. Jimmy Hoffa as well. And they try to escape. They try to escape this madness. That's, I guess, pretty much the movie. The best way you can describe it. I know. And it has, tones of, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets the Addams Family. It is a bizarre movie. And we have the Justice of the Peace's granddaughter, played by John Candy, in drag. And he's arranged so that he can get off scot-free if he marries the granddaughter. And there's the big fat baby creatures in the junkyard, and people are coming in for speeding who have drugs and guns, and they get literally killed and their bones spit out through this death coaster machine. And Digital Underground has a cameo in the movie. Tupac Shakur is in this fucking movie, and they stopped the whole movie short for a musical number. I don't know how to quite describe it. It's a bizarre movie, but it's kind of a cool movie, I think, in a weird way. I mean, this is definitely not a traditionally good movie, I guess is the best way to put it, but it's really bizarre. It is a black comedy, and some of the humor falls short. some of the plot doesn't make sense. This is just an oddity. This is a geek show of a movie, basically, and if you can get some kind of humor out of that, I think the movie has at least some kind of value. I mean, really, I love seeing Dan Aykroyd chew the scenery in his role. It's something to behold. It really is. And honestly, I like to think I have somewhat sophisticated comedic taste, but seeing John Candy in drag, dressed as this woman, who's a mute, by the way, and all she does is make noises like things like that, to see her waltzing around and eye fucking Chevy Chase throughout every scene is glorious. It's kind of this weird, odd, completely different type of movie that it's just something that has never been seen before and probably never will be seen again, and probably for good enough reason. I mean, I understand the movie, one, was a complete critical bomb, and two, a financial bomb as well. And Chevy Chase, who, I mean, his resume doesn't have exactly the best winners critically, but quite a few were hits of his movie. Even he was like, this movie sucks balls, you know? But I don't know. I have a soft spot for a movie in a weird way. Again, I can't say it's, you know, a traditionally kind of good movie where anything quite makes sense, but I don't know. It's just one of those movies I think you have to see at least once, because there are interesting things about it. And I don't know, if you can kind of take some kind of moral or lesson from the movie, or even just some kind of punchline to the movie. I do like the fact that, you know, we have this douchebaggy banker character, if you want to call him a banker, who's very much used to getting things his own way. Thinks money can buy everything, thinks he can just sleaze his way out of anything, but he's in this world now, in Vulcanvania, and the rules don't apply there, so it's this weird kind of I don't know, morality tale of, you know, we think we're so sophisticated in the big old city ways, but guess what? It's not the same all the way around, and sometimes there are consequences for selfish actions or just stupid actions. Really, I mean, if the movie, if they hadn't like sped in the car, if he hadn't been driving so fast to kind of impress Demi Moore, then maybe none of this would happen in the movie. Then it would just be a completely different movie. It's definitely not what you might expect. Like, you think, hey, we have this comedy movie. Hey, Dan Aykroyd's in it. Hey, Demi Moore's in it. Chevy Chase is in it. John Candy. This sounds like a great time. And I suppose on that merit alone, it kind of is, just to see these great, talented actors work together. But the result is a movie that's just strange, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of good. So I don't know. I don't know what else to really say about Nothing But Trouble, other than it's unique. You'll never see another movie like it if you decide to check it out. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out, ultimately, though with a warning. I mean, it's hardly high art. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but it's a weird and kind of cool movie. So thank you very much, Video Game Culture, for this recommendation. Great revisiting this bizarre film, but I have a soft spot for it and a nostalgia for it, and I'd recommend anyone to seek it out, just to say that you did. So that'll do it. If you have a movie that you'd like me to review, please comment below. Let me know. I want to know what to review. Tell me what to review down below. And until next time, be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Visit dare237.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.